What is up, you guys? So, as you can see by the title of this video, I want to talk a little bit about how I deal with anxiety. And I want to preface this with saying I'm not diagnosed with anxiety or anything like that. I'm not on medication for it or anything like that. I just sometimes I get anxious. I think that's a natural feeling. Everyone gets anxious at some point in their lives, whether it's with school or work or relationships or dating or I mean anything. Anything can make people feel anxious. So I want to talk number one, some of the reasons that make me feel anxious, and then also kind of how I deal with it. And I think that stuff like anxiety and depression, like I think when you hear other people's perspectives on it, especially people who deal with similar situations, I think it can help others kind of handle their own challenges and their own tough times when it comes to these different types of things. So I'm just making this video as sort of something to provide some of the experiences that I've gone through, and hopefully it can help other people get through theirs as well. Again, I want to reiterate, I'm not diagnosed with anxiety or anything like that. I just get anxious sometimes, just like everyone else. So I want to kind of talk about my experience with feeling anxious, kind of talk about some of the things that cause it, and then kind of how I deal with it as well. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. The number one reason, and the most recent time that I can think of where I was genuinely feeling anxious, is when I started a new job, right? Because there's so many unknowns. It's from the beginning part, from interviewing all the way up until the first day of training, and then even after that, when you're finally in your position and you're trusted to do the job properly. There's anxiety that comes along with all this whole portion, from interviewing all the way to being in your role and doing a job. You feel anxious, and that's okay. That's normal, right? Like it's normal to feel anxious during these time periods. You don't know what to expect. You don't want to say something wrong. You don't want to do something wrong. There's just a lot of unknowns, and I think that's one of the biggest things is the unknowns. We like to know what's coming at us as human beings. We want to be prepared for things, and if we don't know what's coming at us, we can't necessarily be as prepared as we would like to be. So I think starting a new job is one of the biggest triggers, at least for me, feeling anxious. And I think this happens with any new job that I start. But in due time, you become more comfortable, and you start to feel better about being in a position. And with interviewing as well, that just gets better with practice. I guess you can try looking in the mirror and speaking more clearly, and removing filler words and stuff like that. There's plenty of different methods that you can use, to avoid feeling anxious for interviews. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's natural, it's normal. A lot of people feel the same anxiety and feel anxious for these types of events in their life. So don't feel like you're alone. It's natural to feel that way, and you just got to learn how to work around it, and you'll be all right. So that's number one. Number two is dating as well, right? We've all gone on first dates where you don't really know what to expect. You don't know who this person is. You know, are you gonna, do you look good enough for them? Are they into the same things as you? You, you just got to know that everyone's in the same position when it comes to dating, right? That person sitting across the table from you is thinking all the same things. Am I good enough for this person? Do I look good enough? Is there something in my teeth? What do we talk about if it goes silent and we run out of things to talk about? Everyone's dealing with the same things in their head, right? So just be yourself, and things will work out. And if it doesn't work out, then that's not the right person for you. So who cares? You just move on. You just go on a date, and if it doesn't work out, okay, I appreciate your time. I feel like we didn't have a good connection, and then move on. You find the next person. Not every date's going to be a 10 out of 10. So that's another one that triggers, people's anxiety, I think. And even myself, I would get nervous going on first dates. So I get it. I can relate to that as well. Another thing that I think has made me anxious in the past, and it's a specific thing that I'm thinking of, is when I first started making these YouTube videos, right? There's so many unknowns, and I'm specifically the type of person where I wasn't really big on like social media for my personal life. Like I just never really was about it. I don't like posting that much stuff about my personal life, just because, like, I don't know, I'm not that kind of guy. I just kind of keep things to myself. I I spend time with my friends, my family, and that's really it. Like I'm not one to post my whole life on social media. So starting to post these YouTube videos, I had a lot to learn. Like there were things that I feel like your average person in their 20s would know about, like posting content and posting on social media and creating accounts to do all these different things. And I didn't know a lot of that stuff. And I had to learn myself. And it took a decent amount of work. Like I felt like I was behind the curve on a lot of that stuff, but I just went for it, man. Like you got to not be afraid to fail. Um, but again, that was like one of the more recent times that I genuinely felt anxious because there was just so many unknowns. I was like, what if the content's not good? What if people don't like it? And quite frankly, right now I have 5 subscribers. Like, I mean, that's like next to nothing, literally. It's 5 away from nothing. But I appreciate those 5 subscribers and I continue to post and I hope it continues to grow. Um, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm just trying. So I think that that's important to accept the fact that you're going to fail or maybe you're not going to progress as fast as you'd like to. Um, but either way, if you don't try, you're definitely going to fail. So that's the way I look at it. So I kind of got into it a little bit. I want to talk about like how I deal with, anxiety or feeling anxious in general. And again, I think the number one thing is accepting the fact that you're going to fail. That's like the number one thing. As soon as you accept that fact, you're willing to try so many more things. And that goes with anything, man. Like starting a business, trying out a new job or a new career path, walking up to a girl on the street and trying to get her number and just talking to her. Like you're going to fail. And if you just quit after your first fail, you're never going to succeed in life. You have to be okay with failure. Another thing that helps me deal with, when I'm feeling anxious is understanding that everyone has no idea what the fuck they're doing. Literally, everyone is just trying to figure out life. Like we're all on the same page. We're all from different walks of life. We all have different things going on, but at the end of the day, we all don't know what the fuck is going on. We're just trying to figure it out, just like the rest of us. Literally, we're all just trying to figure out life. That's it. So I think understanding that, again, we're all kind of in a similar position. Some people seem like they got it all together. They dress properly. They're perfectly groomed and they know everything and everyone talks to them, but they still don't know everything, right? Even that person, the person that seems like they got it all figured out, they don't. No one does. No one's an expert in everything. So just keep that in mind that, a lot of people are feeling the same way you are, but a lot of people are good at faking it until you make it. And I think that's actually some good advice. Like, even if you don't know what you're doing, just try and be confident, be willing to learn and ask questions, be willing to fail. But there's nothing wrong with faking it until you're making it either. You want to be confident and that can open up some opportunities and some doors for you in the future as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing that I think helps me when I'm feeling anxious is just taking a moment to breathe. This is going to sound simple, but it helps me. Like if I'm feeling anxious, I'll just stop what I'm doing. My head will be racing with all these thoughts. I'll just stop and I'll breathe in through my nose, hold my breath for 3 seconds, and then breathe out through my mouth. And I'll do that like 5 or 10 times. And it helps, man. Just if you're feeling anxious, just give that a shot and it might help you out. It helps me. So those are the few things that I like to do if I'm feeling anxious is just remind myself that I'm going to fail. So this is especially good for like job interviews or starting a new position or going up and talking to a girl, whatever the case may be, something that you're probably going to fail at first. So just accept the fact that you're going to fail and it makes things a lot easier to get started. Again, understanding that no one has any idea what they're doing or what's going on half the time. Actually, I'd say more than half the time. So just understanding that we're all kind of pretty similar when it comes to that. And I think understanding that other people are experiencing the same things you are, and they may not know everything that's going on as well. It kind of makes you feel a little more comfortable and more human-like. Everyone's human. We all make mistakes. And then finally, just breathe. If all else fails, just take a moment to breathe in through your nose, hold your breath, and then breathe out through your mouth, and do that over and over until you start to feel better. And if someone, I want to make a couple notes here. Like, If someone is willing to make fun of you for trying something new, that says so much more about them than it says about you, right? Like if you start to post content online or you try out a new hobby or you try out for a team, whatever the case may be, like if someone's going to make fun of you for trying something new, that's not a good person. That's not someone that you want to be affiliated with. And it says way more about them than it says about you. And you don't need to say anything to this person. You don't need to try and like fight back and talk shit about them. Like just look at them and understand the type of person they are and then just walk away. And you don't have to deal with that person anymore. They're not the type of person that you want to be affiliated with. Just walk away. Like now you know who they are. Like now you know. And also try not to take things too seriously in life. I feel like I used to do this all the time. I feel like I used to be I used to try to be perfect all the time. I didn't want to fail. I tried to be just perfect all the time. And I just took everything so seriously. And I feel like that hurt me, specifically with like taking advantage of opportunities and trying new things. And even with relationships and stuff like that, I just felt like the fact that I took everything so seriously and I tried to be perfect all the time, it actually had the opposite effect, and it ruined a lot of opportunities and closed a lot of doors for me. So just try not to take things too seriously. And now I think not trying is much riskier than trying and failing, right? Because if you try and fail, at least you know, number one, that it wasn't going to work, but now you know what not to do. So you're one step closer to success, right? But you're also like not trying is like a guaranteed failure. You're definitely not going to succeed if you don't try. So at least try and fail. That way, number one, you know it wouldn't work, but you can use that knowledge to try again later and not do what you did before. So you're one step closer to success. I don't know. That's the way I've been approaching things. Just give it a try. If you fail, who cares? Now you know what not to do, and you know you can keep making progress towards success. And you may fail 100 times, and on that 101st time, maybe you succeed, but you wouldn't have known all that information you gained from those other 100 tries if you didn't just try and fail. So that's the way I look at it. I think, again, the point of this video is to kind of talk about how I deal with anxiety. And I think it's just a matter of, accepting the fact that you're going to fail, understanding that a lot of people are feeling the same way that you are, learning to just breathe and don't take things too seriously. And I think that'll really help you. If you kind of combine these things or use whichever one you think is useful at the time that you're feeling anxious, I think hopefully it'll help you. It helps me, so hopefully it'll help you guys as well. So that's all I had for you guys today. If you like this kind of content, I post all about like personal experiences, personal finance, investing, budgeting, sort of motivational stuff, just anything I feel like talking about. I just post videos and put it over some gameplay playing Call of Duty. So if you like this kind of content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and then on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So again, if you like this kind of content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.